The Galactic Council chamber was, without question, the most impressive room in the entire Andromeda sector. Vaulted ceilings stretched up into what looked like actual space, complete with swirling nebulas and distant stars. Holographic displays floated everywhere, pulsing with important data that nobody was currently reading. The delegates sat in their species-specific chairs, arranged in a perfect circle that was supposed to represent unity, but mostly just made everyone paranoid about who was sitting behind them. Today's emergency session had been called to address what High Chancellor Vrek deemed the most crucial question facing our unified civilization. That question, apparently, was which species could rightfully claim the title of apex predator of the galaxy. Eddie Torres pushed his mop bucket past a very excited Thorvikian who was gesturing wildly with 4 of his 6 arms. "The answer is obvious," Commander Thorvik bellowed, his metallic exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. "The Thorvikian Dominion has conquered 17 systems through pure military superiority. We are bred for combat from the moment we hatch. We know no fear." Eddie squeezed out his mop and started working on a particularly stubborn stain near the Aquarian delegation's seating area. Looked like someone had spilled their nutrient solution again. "Third time this week. Conquest does not equal predation," Ambassador Glipnor countered, all 47 eyes blinking in a wave pattern that supposedly conveyed extreme condescension. The Glipnorian hive mind species loved pulling that move. True apex predator status requires more than brute force. It requires intelligence, coordination, and evolutionary superiority. My species operates as one consciousness across thousands of bodies. We are, by definition, the perfect predator. Eddie snorted quietly and kept mopping. Perfect predator, right. He had seen Glipnor trip over his own collective feet trying to navigate the cafeteria yesterday. "You are both children playing at understanding predation," High Chancellor Vrek hissed, his reptilian features twisting into what might have been a smile or possibly a threat display. It was hard to tell with Vreks. "My people ruled this galaxy when yours were still developing rudimentary tool use. We have the longest unbroken chain of apex predator dominance in recorded history." The debate was now 3 hours old. Eddie's shift started 4 hours ago. He had 6 more hours to go, and the council chamber was only half cleaned. He moved his bucket toward the center of the circle, carefully navigating between delegates who were now standing and shouting at each other in 17 different languages. The translation matrix was working overtime, cycling through everything from ultrasonic frequencies to chemical signatures. Eddie had learned early in his career as station janitor that the best survival strategy was simple: be forgettable, stay quiet, and never, ever get involved in Galactic Council business. He was very good at his job. He pushed the mop in steady, rhythmic strokes, while the most powerful beings in the known galaxy argued about who could kill whom the best. "Just another Wednesday night. My species," declared Councillor Zafara, rising with all the grace her owl-like physiology allowed, "possesses cognitive processing speeds that exceed every species in this chamber by a factor of 12. We can calculate 700 probable outcomes before our prey even registers danger. This is the mark of a true apex predator." Eddie moved his mop around her taloned feet. She didn't seem to notice him. "Processing speed means nothing without application," snarled Crix, the Fangoran representative, whose entire body was basically teeth with a vaguely mammalian structure holding them together. "My people have 37 different types of venom. 37. We can kill in ways most of you cannot even pronounce." 37, Eddie muttered, under his breath while wringing out his mop. Cute. He was pretty sure Australia had at least double that, and Australians just lived there on purpose. Commander Thorvik slammed 2 of his fists on his console. "You speak of venom like it is innovation. The Thorvikian body is a weapons system. Our exoskeletons can withstand plasma fire. Our redundant organ systems mean we can survive catastrophic damage. We have literally evolved for war. Survival is not predation," Ambassador Glipnor said again, clearly proud of this talking point. "Predation requires hunting capability. My hive mind can track prey across entire continents through shared sensory input. One body sees, all bodies know. Escape is impossible." Eddie paused his mopping to move his bucket past the Crystalline Collective's platform. Their representative, High Luminary Prax, had been quietly observing until now. When crystalline beings spoke, it sounded like wind chimes having an existential crisis. "Matter of consciousness debate, yes?" Prax chimed. "Crystalline Collective existing beyond physical mortality. Predator concept transcending when death not applying to hunter." "Oh, here we go," Eddie mumbled, returning to his mopping pattern. The philosophical contingent was getting involved. This debate would go until next Tuesday. The Zenthari Empire, announced Supreme Executor Vorn, who looked like someone had given an octopus too much responsibility, has developed hunting techniques that span dimensions. We do not merely hunt in three-dimensional space, we hunt across probability itself. Eddie had to admit that one sounded kind of cool. Still ridiculous, but cool. Dimension spanning, scoffed High Chancellor Vrek. Parlor tricks. The Vrek dynasty dominated this galaxy through persistence, patience, and perfect biological engineering. We have tracking organs you primitives have not even discovered yet. We can smell fear across star systems. Actually, Counselor Zafara interjected, feathers ruffling with indignation. The olfactory range required for interstellar scent detection would violate at least 4 laws of physics. Are you calling me a liar? I am calling you aerodynamically challenged and compensating. The chamber erupted. Commander Thorvik jumped onto his platform and roared a challenge that his translator rendered as something about dishonorable egg-laying practices. Ambassador Glipnor's 47 eyes turned red in synchronized rage. Crick started secreting what Eddie really hoped was just intimidation pheromones, and not actual venom. Eddie sighed and repositioned his wet floor sign for the 3rd time. Nobody ever looked at the wet floor sign. High Chancellor Vrek extended his neck frill in a threat display that probably looked terrifying on his homeworld, but here just made him look like he was wearing a really aggressive collar. Perhaps we should demonstrate our respective capabilities. Physical proof of predator superiority. Oh good, Eddie said to his mop. They are going to fight. In my clean chamber. Commander Thorvik cracked all 6 sets of knuckles. I accept this challenge. The chamber descended into absolute chaos. Delegates were shouting, displaying, secreting, and in one case, molting aggressively. Security drones hovered nervously at the perimeter, unsure if they should intervene in what was technically an official council proceeding. Eddie just kept mopping, working his way around increasingly dramatic aliens while shaking his head. 3 hours and 45 minutes of debate, and they had not gotten any closer to an answer. But hey, at least the floor was getting clean. Demonstration time, Commander Thorvik announced, dropping from his platform with enough force to crack the decorative tile Eddie had literally just finished mopping. I shall prove Thorvikian superiority through single combat. Eddie stared at the cracked tile. That was imported Zenthari marble. The requisition form for replacement would take 6 weeks. Your primitive combat rituals mean nothing, Ambassador Glipnor said, though all 47 of his eyes were now tracking Thorvik nervously. True predation is not about brute force. It is about tactical superiority and strategic positioning and, you are scared, Thorvik said flatly. My species does not experience fear. We experience collective risk assessment, and the collective assesses that you are being ridiculous. Crick slithered down from his perch, all teeth and terrible ideas. If we are demonstrating hunting prowess, then let me show you what 3 centuries of apex evolution looks like. He opened his mouth, revealing row after row of needle-like fangs, each one dripping with a different color of venom. Please do not secrete on the floor, Eddie said, not really expecting to be heard. Crix did not hear him. Instead, he lunged at the nearest piece of furniture, a ceremonial podium made of some allegedly indestructible alien wood. His venom hissed on contact, and the podium began to smoke. That is 4,000 credits of council property. High Luminary Prax chimed in alarm. Small price for demonstration of superior predation, Crix hissed proudly. High Chancellor Vrek was not about to be outdone. He rose to his full height, which was considerable, and his tracking organs, small crystalline structures along his skull, began glowing with bioluminescent intensity. I can smell your fear. All of you. You reek of inadequacy. That is just Glipnor, Counselor Zafara muttered. He always smells like that. I beg your pardon? Your hive mind's pheromone signatures indicate stress and poor dietary choices. How dare you? The collective's diet is perfectly balanced. The collective's diet is whatever does not run away fast enough. Eddie moved his mop bucket to the far corner of the chamber, as far from the escalating situation as possible. This was now officially above his pay grade, which was saying something because his pay, the grade was pretty low. Commander Thorvik decided to prove his point by lifting his entire platform with 2 arms while gesturing dismissively with the other 4. Behold, Thorvikian strength. We can hunt prey by simply outlasting their structural integrity. That is not hunting, that is vandalism, Zafara pointed out. Supreme Executor Vorn, the octopus-looking philosopher, extended several tentacles in what might have been a calming gesture or possibly another threat display. Perhaps violence is not the answer. Perhaps we should consider the theoretical framework of predation itself. examining the existential implications of. Nobody cares about your theories, Vorn. Crix snapped. I care deeply about my theories. You and your therapist. The chamber was now divided into roughly 4 shouting matches happening simultaneously. Commander Thorvik and High Chancellor Vrek were circling each other like they were actually going to fight, which would definitely require more paperwork than Eddie wanted to deal with. Ambassador Glipnor had backed himself into a corner and was trying to look collectively threatening. Crix was secreting on everything, probably just to make a point, and the philosophical contingent had devolved into an argument about whether predation was even a meaningful concept in a deterministic universe. Eddie squeezed past Counselor Zafara, who was now hovering a foot off the ground in an aggressive posture, wings spread wide. He dragged his mop through something that looked suspiciously like the residue from Crix's venom demonstration and made a mental note to request hazard pay. Again. Primitives. High Chancellor Vrek hissed. All of you. The Vrek dynasty has forgotten more about predation than your species will ever learn. Forgetting things is not the flex you think it is, Zafara shot back. I will challenge any being in this chamber to a test of predatory capability. I accept, Thorvik roared. As does the collective, Glipnor added, though he did not sound enthusiastic about it. Eddie checked his watch. 4 hours into the debate. The floor was approximately 30% clean, mostly because he kept having to remop areas that aliens kept destroying. He moved methodically toward the center console, where the council secretary, a very stressed-looking Aquarian named Flib, was frantically trying to record all of this for the official minutes. How do you spell aggressive molting? Flib whispered to Eddie as he passed. Very carefully, Eddie replied, pushing his mop in smooth, practice strokes while the Galactic Council lost its collective mind around him. Just another Wednesday night. The chaos had reached a critical mass. Commander Thorvik had managed to bend a support beam. Crix had dissolved 2 chairs and was working on a third. High Chancellor Vrek's threat display had gotten stuck in the extended position, which was more embarrassing than intimidating at this point. And Ambassador Glipnor had somehow managed to argue with himself, which Eddie figured was either really impressive or really sad for a hive mind. That's when Counselor Zafara, the owl-like philosopher, tilted her head in that disconcerting way that predatory birds do, and locked all 8 of her eyes on Eddie. Wait, she said, her voice cutting through the chaos with an authority that actually made everyone pause. We have been conducting this debate for 4.3 hours, and not once have we considered the human. Every being in the chamber turned to look at Eddie. Eddie kept mopping. The human? Commander Thorvik said, squinting at Eddie like he was trying to remember if he'd left the stove on. The cleaning staff? That is a Terran, Zafara continued, hopping closer with disturbing grace. From Earth. A planet we have deliberately avoided making official contact with for 73 years. Wait, why have we avoided them? Ambassador Glipnor asked, all 47 eyes now tracking Eddie with something that looked like concern. Because the preliminary reports were. Zafara paused, searching for the right word. Concerning. Eddie squeezed out his mop and moved to a new section of floor. If he ignored them, maybe they would go back to arguing with each other. The human is a janitor, High Chancellor Vrek said dismissively. Hardly representative of apex predator capability. Actually, Counselor Zafara said, still watching Eddie with unnerving intensity, humans do not have a caste system. They are all theoretically capable of the same baseline functions. A janitor, a warrior, a leader, all from the same genetic stock. That seems inefficient, Glipnor observed. Or terrifying, Zafara countered. Commander Thorvik crossed 4 of his arms. This is absurd. Look at it. No exoskeleton, no natural weapons, no venom, pathetically small. Humans are not even on the Council registry of spacefaring predator species. Eddie really wished they would stop talking about him like he wasn't right there. But also, he really wished they would go back to ignoring him. Human. High Chancellor Vrek called out in a tone that suggested he was used to being obeyed. Approach the Council. Eddie did not approach the Council. Eddie kept mopping. I said approach. I heard you, Eddie replied without looking up. I'm working. The chamber went silent. Apparently nobody ignored High Chancellor Vrek. This is an official Galactic Council proceeding, Vrek said, his voice dropping to what was probably supposed to be menacing. You will participate. Eddie sighed, the sigh of a man who just wanted to finish his shift and go home to watch the game. He leaned his mop against his bucket and turned to face the assembled aliens. Look, I'm on the clock. I get written up if I don't finish the chamber by end of shift. Can this wait? No, Zafara said, and there was something in her voice that suggested she was genuinely curious now. We are debating which species represents. the true apex predator of the galaxy. You are human. Humans must have an opinion on this matter. Not really, Eddie said. Not really? Commander Thorvik repeated. Your species must have some claim to predatory status. Eddie looked at the assembled Galactic Council, at the bent support beam and dissolved chairs, at the cracked tile and the various fluids he was going to have to clean up, at the most powerful beings in the known galaxy who had spent 4 hours arguing about who was the scariest. Are you guys actually serious about this? He asked. Deadly serious, Crix hissed. Wrong word choice, buddy, Eddie thought. The human appears reluctant, Ambassador Glipnor observed. Perhaps humans are not predators at all. Perhaps they are prey species. That got a laugh out of Eddie. Just a short one, but he couldn't help it. You find that amusing? Vrek asked. Little bit, yeah. Then perhaps, Counselor Zafara said, settling onto her perch with an expression Eddie couldn't quite read. You would care to explain what makes humans qualified to participate in this debate, if anything. Eddie looked at his mop bucket. He looked at his watch. He calculated how much overtime this conversation was going to cost him in uncleaned floor space. Fine, he said. But I'm mopping while we talk. I've got 6 more sections to finish. Eddie grabbed his mop and went back to work on the section near the Crystalline Collective's platform. Might as well get something done while he explained why this whole debate was stupid. So, he started, pushing the mop in steady strokes. You guys want to know about humans and predation? Yes, Zafara said, all 8 eyes tracking his movements. Okay, well, first thing you should probably know is that humans are persistence hunters. You know what that means? Silence from the Council. It means we do not give up. Ever. We are not the fastest. We are not the strongest. But we will follow prey until it literally dies of exhaustion. We can run for days. Just keep going, keep tracking, keep chasing, until whatever we are hunting just stops. That is, Commander Thorvik paused, disturbing. Oh, we are just getting started. Eddie moved his bucket to a new section, working around Crix, who had gone very still. Humans also have this thing where we bond with apex predators from other species and keep them in our homes. Wolves. We took wolves, literal pack hunters, and turned them into pets. We did this thousands of years ago, just because we could. You domesticated canid apex predators? Zafara's feathers ruffled. For what purpose? Companionship, mostly. Also, we bred them into like 300 different variations. Some of them are tiny and useless. We did that on purpose. Because we thought it was cute. Ambassador Glipnor's 47 eyes were blinking in what Eddie was pretty sure was distress. You modified apex predators for aesthetics? Yeah, man. We also keep apex predators from our own planet as pets. Big cats, bears, sometimes, snakes. If it can kill us, someone on Earth has definitely tried to make friends with it. Eddie squeezed out his mop and kept working. Oh, and we regularly consume poison for fun. Excuse me? High Chancellor Vrek said. Poison. Toxins. We drink ethanol as a recreational activity. It is literally a poison that kills our cells, and we have entire industries built around making it taste better. We also eat capsaicin, which is a chemical weapon that plants evolved to prevent mammals from eating them. Humans tasted it and said, "More, please. Make it spicier." Eddie glanced up to see that every single council member had gone quiet. Even Thorvik had stopped flexing. And before you ask about the caffeine, yeah, that is also a poison. It is a pesticide. We put it in beverages and drink it every morning. Multiple times a morning. I personally have had 4 cups today, and I will have 2 more before my shift ends. Your species, Counselor Zafara said, slowly, voluntarily consumes multiple poisons daily. For the energy boost, yeah, that is insane. Eddie shrugged and kept mopping. Gets weirder. Humans also have this thing where we do not know when to quit. We call it spite. If you tell a human something is impossible, that human will absolutely find a way to do it just to prove you wrong. We went to our moon because we were in an argument with another group of humans about who could do it first. We did not need to go to the moon. We just really wanted to win the argument. Supreme Executor Vorn's tentacles had curled up into tight spirals. Spite-driven technological advancement? Pretty much our whole history, yeah. Oh, also we throw things better than any other species on our planet. We have evolved specifically to throw stuff with incredible accuracy. Rocks, spears, balls, whatever. We can nail a target from 100 meters away. And when we throw things, we do not just throw them at prey, we throw them for fun. We invented sports that are just competitive throwing. Sports? Crix asked weakly. Competitions we do for entertainment. We simulate hunting and combat for recreation. We watch other humans do it too. Millions of us. It is a massive industry. Eddie moved to the center of the chamber now, mopping around the cracked tile that Thorvik had destroyed. You know what the really fun part is, though? Humans are endurance predators on a planet full of sprint predators. Everything on Earth that wanted to eat us was faster and stronger. So we evolved to be the thing that does not stop coming. We are the monster that keeps chasing you. We are the thing that shows up again after you thought you got away. The chamber had gone completely silent except for the sound of Eddie's mop against the floor. We tracked prey across continents. Eddie continued, his voice conversational, like he was discussing the weather. We hunted megafauna into extinction using nothing but pointy sticks and the power of refusing to quit. We figured out how to make and control fire, which we then used to cook our food, which let us get more energy, which let us grow bigger brains, which let us get better at hunting. We bootstrapped ourselves to the top of the food chain through sheer determination and pattern recognition. Pattern recognition? Ambassador Glipnor whispered. Yeah, we are really good at noticing patterns. Tracking, mostly. We can look at disturbed ground and know exactly what walked there, when, and where it was going. Give a human tracker a few footprints, and they will follow you across an entire continent. Oh, and we sweat. Sweat? Counselor Zafara asked. Thermoregulation through liquid secretion. Most predators on our planet overheat when they run. Humans do not. We can keep chasing in heat that would kill our prey. We are the Terminator. We absolutely will not stop. Eddie finished the center section and started working toward the exit. His shift was almost over. So yeah, he said, wringing out his mop one final time. That is humans. We are not the biggest or the fastest or the most venomous. We are just the thing that keeps coming. We are the species that looked at wolves and said friends now. We are the apes that learned to throw rocks with sniper accuracy and then got bored and invented baseball. We are really, really good at not dying and really, really stubborn about getting what we want. The Galactic Council stared at him in absolute silence. Anyway, Eddie said, checking his watch. I am going on lunch break. You guys have a good rest of your debate. Eddie had made it approximately 3 steps toward the exit when High Chancellor Vreck's voice cut through the silence. Stop! Eddie stopped, mostly because the tone suggested that not stopping would involve paperwork he definitely did not want to deal with. He turned around slowly, mop still in hand. The entire Galactic Council was staring at him, not the casual observation from before. This was the kind of staring that usually preceded either a promotion or a termination, and Eddie was pretty sure he was not getting promoted. All in favor, High Chancellor Vreck said, his voice completely devoid of its earlier bravado, of designating humanity as the apex predator species of the known galaxy, signify by standard affirmation. Every single hand, tentacle, claw, wing, and crystalline appendage went up. The vote was unanimous. Eddie blinked. Wait, what? Motion carried. Counselor Zafara announced, her voice absolutely flat. Humans are hereby recognized as the galactic apex predator. Record entered. Discussion closed. We are done here. That was the fastest vote in Galactic Council history, Flib the secretary whispered, frantically typing into his datapad. 4 hours of debate and 12 seconds to reach unanimous consensus. Commander Thorvik, who had spent the better part of the evening flexing and posturing, had sat down in his chair and was staring at Eddie like he had just realized he had been sharing a room with a black hole. You throw things for sport, he said quietly. You weaponize throwing. I mean, yeah, but also we have actual weapons now, so the throwing thing is mostly just recreational. Thorvik finished, his metallic exoskeleton somehow looking less impressive than it had an hour ago. You practice predation for fun. Well, when you say it like that, it sounds weird. Ambassador Glipnor had gone pale, which Eddie did not even know was possible for his species. All 47 eyes were dilated in what was definitely fear. The collective would like to formally apologize for any previous dismissive comments regarding human capabilities. You did not make any dismissive comments to me specifically, Eddie pointed out. The collective would like to keep it that way. Crix, the living nightmare of teeth and venom, had actually retreated to the far corner of his platform. 37 types of venom, he muttered to himself. I was proud of 37 types of venom. They drink poison for the energy boost. They drink it. On purpose. Multiple times a day. Supreme Executor Vorn's tentacles were still curled up tight. The philosophical implications of a species that advances through spite are genuinely terrifying. Your entire civilization is built on proving people wrong? I mean, not entirely, Eddie said, leaning on his mop. We also do stuff because we are curious, or bored, or because someone said we probably should not do it, which is basically the same as spite but with extra steps. Curiosity, Counselor Zafara repeated, and her feathers had gone completely flat against her body, which Eddie was pretty sure was a fear response. You explore and advance because you are curious. Yeah? Not for resources, not for territory, not for survival, for curiosity. I mean, sometimes for those other things too. But yeah, a lot of it is just we wanted to know what would happen if we tried something. High Luminary Prax's crystalline structure was vibrating at a frequency that the translator rendered as existential dread. Species achieving spaceflight through curiosity and spite, explaining many concerning reports from preliminary observation teams. What concerning reports? Eddie asked. All of them, Zafara said quietly. Every single report from every observation team we sent to monitor Earth was concerning. We have 73 years of documentation describing humans as a species that should not work but does anyway. You have no natural armor, no natural weapons, relatively weak bite force, and yet you dominate your entire planet. Your civilization is held together by agreed-upon fictions like money and laws that only work because everyone decided they should work. You are biologically social pack hunters who somehow scaled that pack mentality to populations of billions. You are, and I mean this with absolute scientific precision, completely insane. Eddie considered this. That is fair. The preliminary reports also mentioned, Vrek added, his voice very carefully neutral, that humans have a documented tendency to pack bond with anything, not just other apex predators, anything. You assign personalities to inanimate objects. You feel empathy for robots. You adopt creatures that actively try to kill you and then get upset when they succeed. You once sent a mobile laboratory to another planet and then threw it a birthday party. It was a robot, on another planet. And your entire species sang to it. Okay, but Opportunity was a great rover and deserved recognition. You named it Opportunity. Yeah, and we named the other ones Spirit. They were good rovers, man. The council chamber had descended into a very different kind of silence than before. This was not the silence of beings trying to intimidate each other. This was the silence of beings who had just realized they had spent 4 hours arguing about apex predators, while an actual apex predator mopped the floor around them. Commander Thorvik cleared his throat, which sounded like grinding metal. The human should probably know that this vote comes with certain diplomatic implications. What kind of implications? Eddie asked, getting a bad feeling about where this was going. Well, Counselor Zafara said delicately, as the recognized apex predator species, humanity is now eligible for a permanent seat on the Galactic Council, with full voting rights, and the associated responsibilities of maintaining galactic peace and adjudicating interspecies disputes. Eddie stared at her. You are giving my entire species a seat on the council because I told you we drink coffee and throw things good? When you phrase it that way, it sounds ridiculous, Vrek said. It is ridiculous. Perhaps, Zafara acknowledged, but the vote is recorded and legally binding. Humanity is now officially recognized as the apex predator species and will be extended an invitation to join the Galactic Council. Eddie looked at his mop. He looked at his bucket. He looked at the assembled council of aliens who had just made possibly the worst political decision in galactic history because he had been honest about caffeine addiction and spite. I am not telling my supervisor about this, he said finally. You guys figure out how to contact Earth's actual government. I am a janitor. I clean floors. I do not do first contact scenarios. Understood, Zafara said quickly. We will handle the official diplomatic channels. Great. Good. Fantastic. Eddie grabbed his mop bucket and started heading for the exit again. I am going to lunch now. I am going to eat a sandwich that contains enough processed meat and preservatives to kill most carbon-based life forms. And I am going to drink another cup of poison water. And then I am going to come back and finish cleaning this disaster you all made. He was almost to the door when Ambassador Glipnor called out, What are you having for lunch? The sandwich. What is in it? Eddie stopped and turned around. Every alien in the chamber was watching him with what he was now confident was fear. Turkey and pepperjack cheese, Eddie said slowly, with jalapenos, which are the capsaicin vegetables I mentioned earlier, and some of those spicy chips that are covered in more capsaicin powder, and a caffeinated soda. Why? The collective species of the Galactic Council exchanged looks. No reason, Glipnor said weakly. Enjoy your meal. Eddie shrugged and left the chamber. Behind him, he heard High Chancellor Vrek's voice, very quiet and very disturbed. They eat the chemical weapons as a condiment, on top of preserved flesh, while drinking poison, for a casual meal. I recommend we begin drafting extremely polite diplomatic communications, Counselor Zafara said, and perhaps increasing the security budget. The human still has 6 more hours of his shift, Commander Thorvik observed. He will be back. Yes, Zafara replied. That is what concerns me. Eddie Torres, night shift janitor and humanity's accidental first contact ambassador, walked down the corridor toward the break room. The Galactic Council had declared humans the apex predator of the known galaxy. They were probably going to invite Earth to join galactic civilization. First contact was going to happen because he had explained coffee and spite to a bunch of scared aliens. He was absolutely not paid enough for this, but the overtime was going to be amazing on his next paycheck, so that was something. Eddie took a bite of his sandwich, the jalapenos crunching with just the right amount of heat, and smiled. Just another Wednesday night on the station. Somewhere behind him, the Galactic Council was probably still panicking. Not his problem. He had floors to clean.